Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're exploring an absolute biological marvel of engineering that is working tirelessly inside you right this very second. We often think of our organs just as, parts of a machine, but the human kidney is so much more than that. It's a highly sophisticated, meticulously balanced water treatment and filtration plant. And by the end of our time together, you're going to see exactly how it pulls off one of the most astonishing daily miracles in the entire human body. 170 liters. Just take a second to visualize that massive number. That is the volume of a completely full bathtub. And believe it or not, that is the exact amount of blood plasma, what we call primary urine, that your kidneys filter every single day. 170 liters? They're constantly pushing fluids out, cleaning them, and then pulling them right back in to keep you alive. Seriously, how on earth does a pair of organs the size of your fists manage a whole bathtub of fluid without skipping a beat? Well, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with meet your filtration plant, move on to the primary filtration station, figure out reclaiming the good stuff, explore the loop of Henle, and finally wrap up with hormones and hydration. All right, let's jump right into section 1, meet your filtration plant. Tucked away in the retroperitoneal space, right around your 11th and 12th ribs, are the kidneys themselves. But the real magic, that happens on the micro level. If you zoom into the kidney structure, you find the nephron. The nephron is the fundamental filtration unit of the kidney. And you don't just have a few of these, you have roughly 1 million of these microscopic structures packed into each kidney. 1 million tiny, intricate tubes working in perfect synchronization every second of your life. So why do we need 1 million of these things? What exactly are they filtering? Well, it all comes down to basic human metabolism. When your body breaks down proteins, a highly toxic byproduct is created called ammonia. Your body absolutely has to get rid of this cellular poison immediately. So it ships it off to the liver, which converts the toxic ammonia into a slightly safer compound called urea. This urea is then sent into the bloodstream, where it travels directly to the kidneys. The kidney's main gig is to pluck that urea out of the blood and safely excrete it. It's basically the ultimate biological detox. Moving right along to section 2, the primary filtration station. Welcome to the glomerulus. This is the true starting line for our 170 liters. Blood rushes into this tiny ball of capillaries and it meets a really fascinating type of cell called podocytes, which literally translates to foot cells. Kind of a funny name, right? Well, these podocytes interlock their little feet to create these ultrafiltration slits, essentially acting as a microscopic sieve. Because of their incredibly specific size, this sieve keeps your crucial blood cells and large proteins safely inside the blood vessels, but it lets water, salts, glucose, and that waste product we just talked about, urea, pass right through. This filtered fluid is what we call primary urine. Now, to successfully filter 170 liters a day, this system cannot handle wild fluctuations in pressure. It needs a perfectly steady flow. And this brings us to a frankly genius mechanism called autoregulation. The kidneys demand a constant blood pressure of exactly 50 millimeters of mercury inside that glomerulus. If that pressure drops, filtration completely stops. If it spikes, the delicate cellular sieve could literally be blown out and damaged. The kidney somehow manages to maintain this 50 millimeter Goldilocks zone perfectly, totally independently of what the rest of your body is doing. So how does it achieve that perfect pressure? Through some incredibly precise structural adjustments. The incoming blood vessel actually changes its own diameter based on your body's overall blood pressure. If you're just resting and your systemic blood pressure drops, the vessel undergoes vasodilation. It widens to let more blood in and keep that local pressure up at 50. But if you're exercising and your blood pressure spikes, it undergoes vasoconstriction. It narrows to bottleneck the flow and protect the delicate glomerulus. It's essentially a highly advanced automated plumbing valve. Which brings us to section 3, reclaiming the good stuff. Okay, if we create 170 liters of primary urine a day, how do we only end up excreting about 1.5 liters of actual urine? To understand how the kidney pulls all that fluid back into the body, we have to grasp one fundamental rule of physics: osmosis. In simple terms, osmosis is when a solvent, like water, flows through a semi-permeable membrane from an area of low particle concentration to an area of higher particle concentration. The particles themselves, like salt or sugar, they're too big to cross the membrane, so the water moves instead to balance things out. The golden rule to remember here is this: water always follows the salt. Knowing that water follows salt, we can look at the heavy lifting performed right after the glomerulus. This part of the nephron is incredibly greedy. It immediately uses energy to pull about 65% of the filtered sodium right back into the surrounding tissue. And because water follows salt, massive amounts of water are passively dragged right back into the body with it. But it's not just salt and water. This is also where the kidney reclaims 100% of your vital nutrients. Every single drop of glucose and all the amino acids are actively transported back into the blood. The kidney filters everything out just to meticulously pull all the good stuff back in. Next up, Section 4, the loop of Henle. As the tubule dips deep into the inner medulla of the kidney, it forms this long hairpin turn, known as the loop of Henle. As it descends, the concentration gradient skyrockets from a normal 300 all the way down to a hyper-salty 120. This is the countercurrent multiplier system in action. The ascending side of the loop actively pumps salt out into the surrounding tissue. But here's the catch. It's completely impermeable to water. This makes the deep tissue incredibly salty. Because that deep tissue is so salty, as the primary urine flows down the other side, water is violently pulled out via osmosis to balance the concentration. This completely ingenious loop design is responsible for reabsorbing an additional 20% of the filtered sodium. By creating this massive salt gradient way deep down in the kidney, the body basically guarantees that it can wring out almost every last drop of necessary water before the fluid moves on. It's an absolute masterpiece of biological efficiency, for sure. Finally, let's dive into Section 5, hormones and hydration. Our bodies aren't static, right? Your body needs a rapid way to communicate its hydration status to the kidneys. If you're experiencing water loss, say through heavy sweating during a really tough workout, sitting in a sauna, or maybe you're burning up with a fever, your blood pressure drops and your blood basically gets saltier. Your brain detects this and immediately sounds the alarm. It triggers the release of the master control hormone for hydration, ADH, or antidiuretic hormone. So what does ADH actually do? Think of it like an exclusive VIP key. It travels down to the very last parts of the nephron. Normally, these parts are pretty much waterproof, but ADH docks onto receptors and forces them to become highly permeable to water. And because that deep kidney tissue is so unbelievably salty thanks to the loop of Henle, water violently rushes out of the tube and back into your bloodstream to save you from dehydration. As a result, you excrete a very small amount of highly concentrated, dark urine. Now, this actually perfectly explains something you've probably experienced firsthand. The source data points out a fascinating biochemical interaction. Consuming alcohol actively inhibits the release of ADH. Alcohol literally turns off your brain's ability to tell your kidneys to save water. Without ADH, the collecting ducts stay completely waterproof. Water remains trapped in the tubule, and you end up producing large volumes of dilute urine. That condition is exactly why drinking alcohol leads to dehydration so incredibly fast. Understanding this careful balance highlights just how critical the system really is. When the kidney is pushed to its absolute limits, we see extreme medical conditions. If you're severely dehydrated, you might experience oliguria, which is producing less than half a liter of urine a day. But at the most extreme end is anuria, which is virtually zero urine output. If the kidneys stop filtering completely, those toxic byproducts like ammonia and urea build up rapidly in the blood. Anuria isn't just a bad symptom, it is an acute, life-threatening emergency. We've traced the incredible journey of a single drop through a million microscopic filtration plants. We've seen how your body utilizes pressure, salt gradients, and powerful hormones to perform the daily miracle of filtering 170 liters of fluid, all just to carefully reclaim and save every vital drop you need to survive. It is a breathtaking system of continuous purification. So, knowing how incredibly hard your kidneys are working for you right now, are you drinking enough water to keep this amazing plant running? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, stay hydrated out there.